how would you like to achieve your first million? And today we have Susan, which is the founder of Meritage Leadership. She's also coach billionaires and is have a great coach, leadership coach. So Susan, tell us, what are the 5 steps to make your first million?
Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
Well, what's most important that I've seen, and I've coached leaders for over 20 years now. Wow. I've been in the leadership development, and I've seen leaders, how they've successfully grown their business to be billionaires. And one of the most important pieces to grow and make your first million as an entrepreneur is to learn how to delegate effectively. That is kind of number one. And I would tell you, I see challenges that happen from the smallest of entrepreneurs to the biggest of companies. There's still work that can be done on how to be a better delegator.
Absolutely.
And so you have to think, I might step back a minute. You have to think about, in order to scale to 1 million, you have to build a team to help you do that. As an individual, it's extremely rare for you to get to that level of income when it's just you. So you need to start thinking about, well, what can I delegate? And if so, how do I do it? Because it's more an art than a science, which we can get into. But thinking like, I'm going to need a team to do this, and then I need to develop the skill set to be able to delegate effectively, that is the key piece on growing your team and growing your business to 1 million.
Yeah. And then the step number 2, okay, we said that would be, because we need 5 steps from you, Susan. So this step, delegate, really powerful. I agree 100%. So
yeah.
4 more.
Well, let me call the first step being, think about having a team.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Number 1, the mindset of I have a team, I'm going to create a team. Step number 2 is delegate effectively. Step 3 is make sure that everyone is clear on priorities and what the vision is, so that you're all rowing in the same direction, right? Step 4 is you've got a platform for communication so that it's not just where you can do asynchronous communication, right? Mm-hmm. Where it's not just you getting on the phone or whatever. What is the platform for that, right? And so that all of my focus is around how you work with your team.
And the last one?
The last one would be how you share your success with the rest of the team. What's going to be motivating for them in this? That, motivation is key. You're going to lose your team if you're not understanding what's in it for them. Mm-hmm. So how do you articulate that?
I go, Susan, I love your 5 steps. The more you say your 5 steps, I'm seeing myself there, because you see, especially in the first 2, because this is literally what happened to me, right? I started my first business, and you see, I have this mindset, a lack of experience, I don't know, that I have to do everything on my own. Yeah, I have this mindset, I don't trust anyone. It was a property business. We managed to sell 5 million, but at the beginning, I have this, I don't trust anybody, like I'm going to give my keys to someone from the property. How about they steal something to my tenants? Oh my God, I'm going to give them contact from my landlords to my employees. Why they take them? So I have this mindset. But the truth was that Regales that was making a lot of money, exactly what you said. No way was close to 1 million. And I was tired. I'm exhausted. I'm waking up with the laptop in my lap. I'm not sleeping. I'm doing everything, wearing all the hats, you see, renting.
Where's the freedom in that? Most people want to be their own boss, and there's no freedom in that.
So tired. Yeah. The bank account, a lot of money in the bank account, but I'm like, So I'm in bad mood, you see, and so tired. So I think that out of survival, yes, basically I couldn't do anymore. I couldn't. I grew until I could handle it. It was a point that I couldn't handle it anymore. Yeah, I have a job back then. Also, I was doing room service in the Hilton. Yeah, parallel when I was building my business. And at some point, I have, we have. I think that I managed to do by myself to acquire 7 houses. Yeah, I always have 2 rooms, and then so I wake up 5 a.m., go to the Hilton, prepare the breakfast, do my room service, and at 4, I was doing the viewings and renting my rooms. And at some point, I have like 2 rooms empty all the time because I couldn't handle it anymore. I couldn't manage. It was way too much. And I'm checking one day and say, hold on a minute, 2 rooms, if I rent them, that would be over £1,200, which is the same that they were paying me in the Hilton. It was around 1,000 or something, plus tips. And so that's the day that I quit my job 17 years ago, right? Haven't looked back yet. And something after I left that job, a big shifting happened because I had time now. Because next day I rent the 2 rooms. That's it. I had nothing to do. The whole thing was full. But now I start to think exactly what you described in your step 2, how to let that I have to do everything, and to start to hire people. Something amazing happened. The people that I had, they were all better than me at everything. I'm like shocked. I'm like, how you do that? I thought that was a big deal. When I started to hire people, I realized
okay.
they absolutely. I was so happy. I was telling everyone. I was so excited. I was telling everyone, you won't believe the people that, my sales people, the girls, I had girls at the management, and the girls were incredible, yeah. Until one point that one day I arrived to the office and they told me, Harry, go home. We don't need you in the office anymore. But a process happened today, Susan, that I want to describe with you, because somehow by accident, I created an empowering context for leadership in the office. Kind of by accident as well, because I was through this process, which is your step 1 and step 2, that I love so much, because I feel that this I'm like this was me exactly like that.
Yeah.
Where I was so happy about my team and the guests. However, something was happening in the office, Susan, that everybody would come and ask me questions, because I'm the owner, and so they were coming to ask me questions. There were so many, from different managers and so on. Right. So I put it out of survival again, because I was exhausted.
We call that, by the way, a hub and spoke model, because it's a hub and spoke. If you create yourself as the hub, then the bigger your team gets, again, the more problems you have, because what you actually want is some of them talking to each other, exactly, going to you.
They might die again. So I said, I put a sign in the office that say, okay, if you have a question, come with 2 and 3 solutions, because you're better than me anyway. Yeah. and don't ask me to choose, because you better choose. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, we try something else. It's not like I have a magic one. Especially you guys are more qualified, because sales, marketing, whatever, you're doing this all the time, right? And that's it. Out of that, Susan, by accident again, because I cannot tell you that that I knew how to do this. Like I said, literally one day the girl sent me home. I'm like, what? You don't need photocopy in the photocopy? They know, Harry, we can get our own paper in the photocopy. Just go home. The girl told me, in fact, the only problem in this company is you that come and talk to us and don't let us work. So they say, okay, fine. So Susan, this process cannot happen by accident. Yeah. Can you describe, because I'm just telling you a story, but you're definitely an expert in the field. I surrendered my ego, that I'm the big, we're going to call it ego, we're going to call it whatever we're going to call it, but I just surrendered, like I'm doing everything, I know everything, everybody, I don't trust anybody. And when I surrendered all that, magic happened, and I was literally making a lot of money and at home watching movies. Yeah. which is they literally send me home. So what happened to me, Susan? You tell me. How this happened? How this happened? Did I become a leader without knowing anything about leadership? What happened then?
Yeah. Because what happened is a fundamental shift leading from identity, ego, and self-image is a losing battle at the end of the day. And what do you lose? You lose your freedom. You lose your ability to scale. And to some degree, you're going to lose your sanity. What you experienced, right? Yeah. And so that this sense of surrender, but how do you do it effectively, right? How do I actually trust? And that's where, actually on my website, there's a great guide on there. This is on Meritage Leadership. That's MERITAGE leadership.com on how to free up 8 hours of your week. But what it really is a guide to effective delegation. And everything from what are the mindsets I need to let go of? You've already identified some. Another mindset that gets in people's way is I can't afford to hire someone. That's a big one. And frankly, that stopped me early on too. Like when I started after a few years, I'm like, but I can't afford to hire someone. Like when I hired my first accountant to handle my books and my invoicing, I had done that all myself. That's not my forte. That's not my strength.
Absolutely.
And the more I got sucked into that, let somebody else do it. Then it freed up my time. So there's a little calculator in there that will show you actually can't afford not to hire someone and move forward, right? And there's so many resources now of virtual assistants and very cost-effective ways that you can. So there's thinking, the mindset shift that needs to happen. Then, and you've articulated some, a big one that gets in people's way. And then there's determining, so what do I delegate, right? And there's a little exercise in there to think about a potential future state 6 months from now. What would you want your life to be looking like? Because I think when you get people out of the day-to-day and you're like, step back for a moment, what do you really want? Now let's work backwards. Very motivating for people to think this stuff. I don't want to keep doing my accounting and invoicing 6 months from now. Like, shoot me, So what needs to happen in order to make that happen? And then there's kind of the last section, which is, okay, let's say you got somebody in place and you need to delegate. How do you do that effectively? And what I see people do is either they're kind of on two ends of a spectrum, neither end works. Either they throw it over the fence and like, you got it. And I give no guide rails. I give no context. I give no background. I don't tell them what I'm really looking for. We hope they figure it out, right? That doesn't work. On the other end of the spectrum is the person that delegates something, but kind of takes it back. Right? The micro, right? Delegate it. And the very first mistake you see, I'm going to do it myself.
I know it all. Yeah.
It's this middle ground, right? So this middle ground, there's a very specific process that you go through. It's called HOURS, is the acronym. And the reason I named it HOURS, so OURS, is because when you delegate, it's an agreement between you and the other person. It's ours. It's not yours. And it's not mine.
It's ours. Wow, I love the name. That's fantastic.
Yeah. It's an agreement that we're making, so we better be clear on what that agreement is so that when we're clear on the agreement and the agreement is pretty crisp, you can go watch television at home, right?
Susan.
People don't do enough up front to make that success.
Yeah. And then what happened is like this, because somehow leadership, this is my personal view, but I think, that everybody said, no, this person has born to be a leader. The leadership is a skill, basically the more you practice, the better you become. It's like driving a car, or anybody can be a great leader. And it's not such a thing, this is a born leader. No, when I do the conference all over the world, you have to see the people. Marie, that was amazing. Man, how you do that? That was incredible what you did. I love the speech. I'm just telling them, guys, I've done this 1,000 times. This is that's the only secret that is. So Susan, when you made that decision to delegate, yeah, now we had to put a name to this, and the name that we had to do it is that you are doing this transition from an entrepreneur to a leader, because effective delegation is a quality that comes attached with leadership. Yeah, there is no leader. I haven't heard any leader that doesn't delegate effectively. But we are entrepreneurs, so we don't know that these have a name. We don't know that this is a skill. We don't know that this is something that we can learn if we have a brilliant coach like you. Then like if you work with someone amazing that can help us to develop this skill, because at the end of the day, you won't be able to do it for them, so certainly do I. We can give them the framework, we can give knowledge, we can accelerate, but at the end of the day, they do need to practice leadership. And if they have the right framework, that's gonna speed up. The same way that when you're learning how to drive, and you have a driver instructor, is you're gonna learn faster than go out the street and drive by yourself. You might die, right? If you don't have an instructor. So Susan, leadership, it seems that there's a so heavy word for startup founders and for entrepreneurs, but the same analogy of the story that I shared with you about myself. You go to a big corporation and you find the same thing. You find the CEO like working everywhere and doing everything, and then you see everybody, the C-level, everybody waiting for the CEO to take the decision, and everything's actually stopped under his yes. And the guy is again exhausted, and so why we don't teach leadership is something that start to happen to us, and then we discovered that this next. So any message or anything that you can share with us for entrepreneurs, right? For example, you share a system, right, that help them to delegate effectively. So how can we have more entrepreneurs to, number one, to let them know that every single one of them can become a great leader, yeah? And this is something that you need the right, you need an instructor, to call it in that way. You need a mentor, a coach to guide you, so you don't try by your own and then and then you have an accident, if we can call it that way. How we can, and how important is, because we have CEOs and entrepreneurs that say, leadership, now I'm very busy running my business, I don't want to learn anything about this. So what message do you have for these people?
I would say leadership is growing your business.
Absolutely. I love it.
Cornerstone of success. It is not an extra thing, because again, scaling requires a team, and leading a team is what we call leadership development. And you as a leader will be stunted based on your ability to really grow and develop your team to be more successful, to create that level of synergy, right? And also to make sure you don't get into this hub and spoke model where it's all the team interacts only with you and they don't interact with each other. A real team is when all of the units play together. Here's something to think about. Take any sports team, okay? If you follow football, soccer, they watch the tapes. They take time out to look at how they're playing. 100%. And yet, business owners entrepreneurs just keep on going. I'm just going to keep going. Just keep going. They never take time. Like, let's stop, look at how we're playing. Is it effective? And is there something more effective that we could be doing? And that's essentially what leadership development is. It's taking time out to look at the tapes and making some new changes about how we're engaging with each other.
I love that, Susan. I want to expand a little bit on that, because I want for you to share a little bit more, because sometimes leadership sounds like, well, as entrepreneurs, we need to see how profitable it is, and learn leadership. But I don't think that big organization or small, they don't taking into consideration all the money that is leaving on the table if they don't become a great leader. For example, this create flexible organizations. Just imagine, right? Imagine so you see companies when leadership is not effective, and this company look like a big Titanic, like a big boat. So of course, if you want to turn right, it's gonna take a lot of time to the big boat to turn right. However, in this, when effective leadership is taking place, it's like you have 3,000 leader boats, and these 3,000 leader boats have their own captain. So of course, when the first boat said turn right, all these 3,000 leader boats, they turn right really fast. They respond to change faster when effective leadership is in place in the organization. And when you respond to change faster, well, you know what, your company don't collapse. Blockbuster, a lot of companies have gone out of the picture just because they couldn't respond to change fast enough. So how difficult for you, Susan, is to convey this when you arrive to this Titanic organization and you have to have a serious conversation with the CEO, with the C-level, and say, guys, we are dismantling your Titanic, and we are creating 3,000 liter boats with their own captains so we can respond to change faster. And how challenging is that conversation, and how the process works, how we can enroll the C-level and the whole organization that, well, we have to re-engine the way that we interact with each other and the way that we do things, and don't have this rigid structure, because otherwise we become slow, and that's get reflects on the same. So tell us a little bit more about this process.
Well, usually I'm tapping into what their pain points are, just like you articulated what your pain points were. What do you see? Have it come from their mouth.
100%.
As what's keeping you up at night? What do you wish 6 months from now? What do you hope changes? What do you hope to be different? So I play into both kind of their vision of their desire and their wanting, what they want more of, and what they're frustrated with now. And any one of those can be tied back to their effectiveness as a leader. Bottom line, one of the things that is a tenet in our work is that effective leadership is generated from pattern recognition and pattern disruption. We've got to see the patterns that we get stuck in that are no longer serving us because of what you articulated. Change is happening at a faster and faster rate. And if we can't adapt as quickly as change is happening in the external world, think of it like an avalanche. We get snowed under. And that's what I see happening in many organizations today, particularly the bigger ones, because they're not equipped to be agile enough to change quickly. So they've got to understand that their only way out is to recognize when they're stuck in a pattern and how they shift it. But that's not always visible to people, right? Think about a pattern could be as simple as like brushing our teeth or tying our shoes. Like, we've done it so many times we don't even think about it. It's
100%.
The program takes over. That's how organizations, where they're like, this is just what we do, and this is what worked in the past, so we just keep doing that. And they're not really articulating that's not working anymore. But we can feel it viscerally when we're in states of overwhelm, when we're in states of burnout, when we're in states of frustration. Those are signals that you're stuck in a pattern that's no longer working because your external environment is different, and yet you keep doing the same things.
Very good, Susan. And now let's go a little bit more further, because in this broadcast, we want all the entrepreneurs to be wealthy, but also we want them to be healthy, and we want them to be happy. So now, can you become a multimillionaire? Everybody listen to the podcast because they want to become a multimillionaire, right? So can you become a multimillionaire without being an effective leader? Okay, you can, but you're going to be exhausted. You're going to be stressed out. However, there is a way where you can become a multimillionaire, but along with the package can come, you could be healthy and happy. Because what Susan, and I'm glad that you touched at this point, sometimes the entrepreneurs, don't understand the importance of the work you do, yeah, or what we do in terms of, creating effective leaders. But what happened in Susan is that when you have a stress, when you have this emotional pain, because you're running everything and then you're exhausted, all these negative emotions, they keep accumulating in your brain. And this emotional pain, this stress, literally, can turn to physical pain. People can end up with cancer, with heart attack. In this podcast, we interview one entrepreneur that have 3 businesses, turning over $1 million in each. And the guy was vomiting blood. And he told me, Harry, I took the decision. I'm running this business. This business is not running me. And he went one year off to Thailand. I'm like, yeah, see, go, because it's all about self-preservation. So Susan, to all the multimillionaires out there, that they are happy, healthy, and wealthy, they all are effective leaders. No doubt about it. Whether you can find another ones that, you can be, having these multimillions around, but you're tired, you're exhausted, everybody shouting in the organization, you're responding really slow to change, and then your life, you don't have time to speak with your daughter, you don't have time to speak with your wife, your relationship are going to, don't even interaction even with your friends. And then on the other hand, you have this illness, this type of cancer that show up to your body that nobody knows where it come from. So I have one client, he owns 300 supermarkets and a massive, a huge operation. And, sometimes it's times in the hospital, checking the sugar level, this and that, because, it's so much going on that he doesn't even have time to look after his health. So Susan, tell us a bit more, because you brought it down, right? That this effective leadership, if we don't embrace this, can be sometimes even lethal for the entrepreneur, right?
I would suggest that looking to make your first million, if that's your goal, you're looking in the wrong place. It comes as
100%.
A result of. And what do I mean by that? Well, when you get connected to some meaningful mission outside yourself, the difference that you want to make, if it's about you're owning supermarkets, you want to have a different experience for your customers, and you really want to build something unique, a different kind of supermarket, right? But something that gets you excited about what you want to provide to the world, you don't have to think about it. The money comes in. What I see is people that go after the money, they don't end up being, they may even get it, they may not get it, they may get it, but what they get is a whole bunch of heartache on top of it, because their attention's on the wrong thing. Think about it. What do you ask yourself? What do you want this million for? What do you think it will do for you? I could boil that down into people want to feel joy, they want to feel fulfillment, and they want to have a sense of safety. So if that's what you're really after, then what you do is put your attention on what you want to do as an entrepreneur is make a difference in the world. So what aspect of your area that you're focusing on are you committed to, and go for that. And I promise you, the stuff will come, and this time the money will come, but there'll be a sense of joy and fulfillment, and the safety you're looking for from that million will come, but it'll be coming from a completely different place than you just going after the money.
Absolutely. So an internal change needs to happen in the entrepreneur, where you started the business because you want to make money, but at the end of the path, you have to become an effective leader. And in order for you to survive and grow, you need to have a greater mission than yourself in terms of the products and service that you offer. Now, the next question, Susan, is I want for you to speak, because I understand, you're blonde, you have blue eyes, and now you're going a woman to a company, male dominated, most of them. Unfortunately, they are. I have also one client, she's a Harvard graduate, and she's a big shot. I mean, her credentials are amazing, and they brought her in London. Yeah, I'm based in London, so to a financial service companies, and the only reason why they brought that woman is just to put it as a picture in the C-level to say, hey, we have a woman in the in we are diverse. They were not hearing what she was saying, and I'm telling you, she's a Harvard graduate, a really high uh, performer in the investment space.
Yeah.
But she arrived to this big company, and little did she know that there was, nobody's listening to her. Nobody wants to take into consideration. And she's telling me, Harry, what else can I show them? I have a graduate, one more credential. It's not because I'm a woman. I have more credentials that, same credential that everybody else in this company. So in the same way, Susan, most of the cases when you arrive to this big organization, you will find out, unfortunately, this is the landscape of no corporate America. So world corporate, this is how it looks like. We have made some progress, and hopefully we make more. Yeah. For me, like I said, I have a very positive feedback for bringing women to. What I noticed is, my managers, they were very effective. Boys sometimes they tell you the things. My friend, I know the guy that wrote this book, John Gray, Women Are for Mars, and Women Are for Venus and Men Are for Mars, right?
Yeah.
And John Gray, they told me personally, Harry, that we are different. Women are different than men, but I find employing women that were very assertive. You see, women that were, when they don't want to go out with us, that we don't want to go out with you. I say, why? No, because you're ugly. I don't like you. So women will tell you directly how it is. And this is very effective for business. For me, when my managers would tell me, Harry, this is not working. By the third time that the guest was giving me headache, shall I call it, that we had, I really need to, I arrived home and said, I had to look into it, because if the guests are complaining, I had to deal with it, and I had to solve it, because this is not complaining by complaining. They are telling me that this is a serious issue in the business that need to be addressed in order to move forward. So on the other hand, the other day, like 6-8 months ago, I did interview personally to the Minister of Finance of Zimbabwe, and he told me, Harry, look, we have a program in the country where we are lending money to people in the agriculture. So, they take this money, they grow some tomatoes, the business grow a little bit, they pay back the loans, then, they're coming back, we give them more loans. And they were very happy with women. Women were paying more the loans and asking for more loans and being more responsible with the money than men. So he told me that he's really happy to lend money to women because it was going amazing. So if it's that the case, why we see less women in leadership roles? Why we see that in the venture capitalists and in the tech space, women, with great tech pros, same like games, like men, they don't. There is no funding at all. Very low, ridiculous compared with the men. And how you personally arrived to this big organization, and literally everybody had to do what you say, otherwise, in order to move the company forward. So tell us a little bit about your view in just my comment on that, because we are very great supporter of women. They did make me rich. They did get me to the million.
I believe it's getting better. I think it's on a trajectory up, but for many, it's not changing fast enough, right? I see improvements. It's legacy behavior. One of the most fundamental skills that many women naturally have, because we're taught to be collaborators as children, is the EQ, emotional intelligence piece. Now, not all, but many have a lot of that built in. And I believe the more our world is going to rely on artificial intelligence, the more important emotional intelligence and your ability to lead with that and to have that skill set is going to be valued, because everything else is going to be automated. So I predict going forward that this type of skill set that more men are going to be interested in developing, and women will advance because of kind of what girls are taught when they're young around the need for collaboration and how you have to collectively work the collective, and it's not just about the individual. So certainly over the course of my experience, I've dealt with some of this side and had to learn to be, the way I would say is sort of fierce but warm. So often some women leaders in these types of organizations, they get hardened and they learn to be really fierce if they want to get ahead. But they're missing, and they've squashed some of the most important sides that a feminine energy could bring, which
absolutely
relationship and the collective. So I often say, and I think this is both for men and women leaders, that you want to have both, be able to hold both this strength and warmth at the same time. Strength and warmth. You can have both. It's not an either or. And in order to be successful as we continue, you're going to need to have both. Deal with the world of AI and what people are actually going to pay for and value.
100%. And there is no such a thing that, men are better leaders than women. You hear some people, making some statements that they are,
what we've seen in studies is actually
the opposite. Glad to hear. What
I'm talking about is there are leadership studies that are done through Leadership Circle 360 that looks at the sort of 7 competencies of great leaders and what's required from them. And they tie that also to, and the higher you score on that, how well did you score on business performance, right? Market share, profitability, all the hard numbers that we need. And the study was done, and this has over 500,000 leaders in this database. And the study that they found was more women. The women that had higher also had higher business results. So there was a lot. That's why I said there was a lot to this skill set, because leadership is about relationships. It's about building relationships.
Absolutely.
It is, at the end of the day. So you want that skill set. And so for that whole mindset to be there is just mind blowing, because the data says otherwise. Now, I'm not here to say one is better than the other, because both can be great. What I'm suggesting is, as we move forward in an era of artificial intelligence, you better develop your relational skills, because that's what's going to separate you, because the machines will take the rest.
And then, Susan, now let's talk about women in leadership positions. And there is no such a thing, do you think that women have different style of leadership than men? I think that because what we're talking before, we are different, right? Men take more risk, but sometimes this is not a good thing. Yeah, you can hit a home run, or you can, or that can collapse the company, right? Whether women, again, you're talking about relationships, they nurture, they are more, they see risk in a different way, more effectively. They've just a little story that I shared with you, right? These women are taking care of the loans and paying the loans back because, they do have children, and they know, that they have to use the money effectively and make some profit to pay back the loan, so they can raise more, so they cannot risk this model. Whether men, if take big risk and that you cannot handle it well, there is no one sometimes depends directly from you. So and you say COVID also, even countries with women in leadership position have completely different result that countries with men in the leadership position. Yeah, I remember I saw, the Australian was a woman prime minister, and I don't know what other countries, and we were seeing data that people were getting less ill and they were more looked after just because women were in leadership positions. So moving forward into a new generation, into a new way that, hopefully, like I said, we have progress, but a lot of work has to be done in bringing more women to leadership positions so we can have a better planet to live on. And so what are the biggest challenges that you see? Let me ask you a personal question. What is more easy to you, to train men to become a great leaders, or to train women to become most effective leaders? In your personal opinion, where do you find more resistance on?
I don't look at it differently, and there's different blind spots that that have, and it depends on the individual. So I mostly have worked with men, given that men are in, but I've also worked with women CEOs as well. And so what I spend more time looking at is we each have a leadership style, and I use a tool called the Enneagram to help people see their superpower and what their liability is. And so I break it down by what is their leadership style, and based on that, what are they really good at that we need to leverage, and then what's their blind spot that we need to make sure that on their team they have somebody that naturally has the gift that they're missing. And so I kind of look at it that way, and it's growth for all of us, right? So I try not to be kind of divisive in that way, because I think there's growth for each side. There's growth for all of us, and to put one above the other or below the other. My point in bringing up the study that I did earlier was just to say, I think it's the upbringing of women and traditional ways that women needed to be with each other versus men, that's changing though. So I think you'll see less and less differences between men and women, the more the bifurcation of, well, girls play with dolls and boys play with, guns or whatever, right? The more that starts to blend, the more you'll see less, I believe, as sort of differences in the leadership. But for now, because of the way girls are raised to be more collaborative, they tend to be effective leaders because they know how to build relationships and work with the collective. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
I'm not suggesting that it's inherent and it's always going to be like this going forward. I think it's a product of our culture, and as that starts to change, you're going to see both, but both are important in the workplace, and both are important, provide insight that we need in order to solve today's problems.
Yeah, I think that, to become an effective leader, either you're a man or woman, right? So if you're a man, well, there are a lot of skills and qualities that women have, that if you don't become good at this, you're not going to become an effective leader, and vice versa. There are some natural skills that women have, but they do have to adopt. Maybe, when we're talking a little bit about risk, or another master some skills that, that men for our nature, we have embedded in our personality. At the end of the day, an effective leader, you need to lead for both. For women and men, so you have to be able to understand both. You have to be able to get your message across, and to move forward. I think, Susan, that there is pleasure for me to see you being a great leader and teaching and coaching entrepreneurs out there, even billionaires, right? Yeah. They are very difficult sometimes. Yeah. I've been there. See, because they know it all. So my God, you go and then you say, look, this is how you need to do things. I'll say, how he's looking at you. Well, I have $1 billion. What are you talking to me, right? So and again, the whole thing is how we can bring the conversation of leadership more from bottom to top, right? and have the and put out there that anyone, regardless if you're women, men, black, Chinese, whatever, you can become an effective leader, and to keep, be out there as a role model, because we do need, in my opinion, more women in leadership position, and we need to balance out the whole scale, especially in corporate, and because it's going to be better for business. This is based on my own experience, so I know for sure that having a lot of women in the leadership and management role can make a huge difference for your business, and also learn from another perspective, right? Because if you have, women can bring a different touch to your organization, conveying that idea that effective leadership can be great, especially it's a male-dominated world. They already have so many men. So, and one of the biggest solutions could be this, to balance out the scale. So, Susan, if someone is in love with our conversation, they want to learn more about what you do, how they can find you, how this process works, how can you help them? Can you share a little bit more about this?
Yes, sure. Well, if I mentioned before, my firm is Meritage Leadership, and on there you'll find the free delegation guide that I talked about, and you can download that. And I also have a personal site for my speaking, which is susandrumm.com, and that's Drumm with 2 M's.
Thank you so much, Susan. And for all of you following this broadcast, Unstoppable, see you in our next episode, how brave entrepreneurs like Susan break down the wall and achieve the first million. Bye for now.
Bye.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.